Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Planetarium show. My name is Jessica. I am the director of the Planetarium, and with me tonight is one of our students, a familiar face if you've been here before, but I will still let him say hi and introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Eli. I'm a physics and astronomy student at UMD.
All right, so tonight being first Wednesday of the month, we are going to be doing our What's Up show that's going to take a look at the astronomical events coming up this month of April. I'm going to go ahead and preface the show. If something goes wonky, my cat is on my desk and she's been hitting buttons. So just, if there's something wrong, we're going to blame it on Nova. Okay, with that said, let's get into the upcoming events. So I desktop, pen me. I feel out of practice even though we've been doing this so much. Okay, there we go. So, as we do with many of our What's Up shows, we are going to be starting with the moon and taking a look at the phases of the moon this month. So, we actually started out the month with a new moon on April 1st. So, coming up on April 9th, we will have a first quarter moon. Then, about a week after that, on April 16th, will be the full moon, which for the month of April is often called the pink moon, which can be deceiving. It actually has nothing to do with the moon looking pink. It's just, I believe the pink moon comes from the idea that things are blooming. And so you get that kind of name for it. Some other names for the April moon are the sprouting grass moon and the egg moon. In the case of this month's full moon, this is also the paschal moon, since it is the full moon that precedes Easter Sunday. And then rounding out at the end of the month, we have our third quarter moon on April 23rd. And then actually, right at the very end, we will have another new moon. So we're actually starting and ending the month with a new moon. If you'd like, you can refer back to this information. This gives not only the dates, but you can see here the rise and set times of the moon so that you can look for it whenever you want this month. All right. Now, before heading on to the planets, there's one other thing I want to talk about that does involve the moon. It also involves the sun, and that is a partial solar eclipse that's happening at the end of the month. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say it so that nobody gets their hopes up. We will not be able to see it here in North America, but I still like to talk about these sorts of things happening. So a solar eclipse happens during the new moon because that is when the moon can be positioned directly between the sun and the earth. It doesn't happen every new moon because the moon's orbit is tilted, so the three aren't always perfectly lined up. But at the end of this month, April 30th's new moon, we are going to have that alignment to give us a solar eclipse. And of course, what's actually happening is as the moon passes directly between the sun and the earth, the moon's shadow ends up being cast on the earth, and wherever on the earth the moon's shadow falls, those people will see the solar eclipse. Now, in the case of this one, this is really focused more down in the southern South America and kind of the southern Pacific Ocean. So this is the region that's going to see it. And everyone is only going to see a partial solar eclipse because this is happening pretty late in the day. And so the sun will actually set before we would get to the total eclipse phase. So while it's not happening here, I'm sure that there will be observatories that are streaming the eclipse as it happens. And once we have information on who is doing that, we will be sure to share those on our Facebook page. Now, the other reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is actually kind of a prelude to an eclipse that we're going to have in May that we are going to get to see, which is a total lunar eclipse. But to hear more about that, you're going to have to come back and see the What's Up for May show at the beginning of May. All right, so now we're going to turn our attention to the planets and take a look at when the planets are going to be visible. We're going to start off with the morning sky just before sunrise, looking over in the east-southeast. we have 4 planets that are visible: Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and Saturn. Now, Jupiter right now is pretty low on the eastern horizon, coming up just before the sun does, which makes it a little bit more difficult to see. But as we progress through the month, Jupiter will slowly move further away from the sun and will become easier and easier to see in the pre-dawn sky. We're also going to see Mars continue to move out and away. So by the end of the month, we're going to see Mars and actually Saturn as well, all kind of making their way outwards away from the sun. And so this date, April 26th, would be a fantastic time for anyone who's into any sort of night sky photography, because you're going to have 4 planets all nicely in a row and the nice little crescent moon there as well. And I think this is going to make for a gorgeous picture of the sky. Now, if you're curious why the planets are nice and neat in a line, that's not just coincidence. That's because the orbits of the planets all fall within the same plane, because our solar system is really a very thin disk. All of the planets kind of orbit in the same plane around the sun, and so we all see them along the same line in our sky, which we call the ecliptic. Okay, now moving over to the evening sky just after sunset, Mercury is going to start making its appearance, and it's really not going to be easily visible until after mid-month this month. And even then, it's going to stay fairly low on the horizon until we get towards the end of the month. The best day this month to try and see Mercury is going to be on April 28th. This is when Mercury reaches the greatest elongation, which is the furthest it gets from the sun. And this is actually the best time this year to try and catch Mercury in the sky, because its orbit is making such a steep angle with the horizon, it ends up getting very high off of the horizon, which makes it easier for us to try and see. So if you want to catch this planet, this would be a fantastic time to do it, the morning of April 28th. And that is our planets for the month. Uranus and Neptune are not really easily visible. There are a couple of chances to catch them, but they are so close to the horizon that they're incredibly difficult to see, and I don't feel safe recommending trying to look at them through a telescope, because the telescope is going to have to be pretty near in the sky to where the sun is, and that's just a dangerous situation, and we don't want to really promote that attempt unless you're very skilled with a telescope. All right. So moving on, we finally have a meteor shower coming up in April. So meteor showers happen when the Earth passes through the debris left behind by a comet. Comets are balls of rock and ice, and when they get close to the sun's heat vaporizes the ices, and that spews that dust out along the comet's path, the comet's orbit around the sun. And so anytime we pass through that debris trail, we get lots of little pieces of dust falling through our atmosphere and creating all of the meteors that we see, and hence we have a meteor shower. This month's meteor shower is the Lyrids. So the Lyrids run generally from about April 16th to April 30th. This year, the peak is going to happen the night of April 21st into the morning of April 22nd. The Lyrids are a pretty decent meteor shower. During peak, you can see up to 18 meteors per hour with the occasional fireball. Those are the really, really bright meteors. And the best time to try and see the Lyrids is going to be that early morning of April 22nd between midnight and dawn. Now, if you're able to, we would really highly recommend getting out there between midnight and 2 a.m. because after 2 a.m. we're going to have the moon rise, and the moon's light is going to make it harder to see especially the fainter meteors. So if you want a good dark sky without the moon interfering, head out around midnight to 2 a.m. on the early morning of April 22nd. All right. And last but not least, other things that we can see in our sky are satellites, and the ones that we talk about are the International Space Station. You can always head over to heavensabove.com, labeled right here. There's also a link in the video description. Put in your location and it'll tell you when the International Space Station is visible from your location. For us here in Duluth, we're actually not going to see it until the end of the month. So the last few days of the month, we're going to have a few passes. Of course, heading into early May, we're going to have passes that are happening in the early morning. So if you're up early, you can attempt to see the International Space Station. When looking for a good time to try and see it, you're going to want to, of course, look at the date and the time that it's going to be visible. But this column, the brightness, is going to tell you how bright the International Space Station will appear. And this is in magnitudes, which is a little bit backwards. The smaller the number, the brighter. So in this case, a really good one to try and see would be the April 30th pass, since that has a magnitude of negative 3.6, which is going to be very bright. So once you have the date and time set of what that you want to try and see, you can click on that date and it'll take you to a second page that shows you the exact path that it will take across the sky and give you the timings for when all of this is going to happen. So you can be set to go out and look for the International Space Station. And what you're going to see is a just steady light moving across the sky. It'll start off a little bit fainter and then it'll get bright and then it'll slowly fade down again. But it's not going to blink. It's going to be a very steady light that kind of grows and then fades as it passes across the sky. All right. So those are our astronomical events. I, of course, would not be me if I didn't give you another update on James Webb. Just a couple days ago, it was announced that James Webb has completed all but one of its alignment steps. There was just one more alignment left to do, and we're going to have to wait a couple more weeks for that to happen because the camera has to cool down to its operating temperature. It's been cooling down for the past several weeks that James Webb has been in its location, but it's got to get even colder before we can do this final step. But for anyone who hasn't seen it, this is the latest image that has been released, looking at the calibration star that the team has been using to align the mirrors on the James Webb Telescope. And just to give a little perspective, the super, super, super bright star here is actually incredibly dim. You cannot see it with your naked eye. It looks so bright because of one, how big the telescope is, how much light it's able to collect, but also because it sat staring at it for several tens of hours. I can't remember the exact amount of time anymore. Um, which also then brings me to the other thing. All of these little smudges in the background, those are galaxies. Yeah, we're seeing just galaxies all over the place in a calibration image for James Webb, which just, I'm so excited for the real science to begin. All right, so lastly, let's talk about, of course, our planetarium and what we're going to be up to. This week is a little bit different in that we are having our Friday in-person show, which is Adventure to the Edge of the Universe. But Saturday, we are not having our regular shows because Saturday is Astronomy Day. We are super excited about this. We're going to have a fun-filled evening of planetarium shows, activities, telescope viewing if the weather cooperates. Everyone, please get your fans, take them outside, blow the clouds away. We want good, clear skies. But even if we don't have the clear weather, there's still going to be a lot of great stuff going on inside with the free planetarium shows and the fun activities. So mark your calendar, come out and hang out with us Saturday evening. And I think that's everything I got. So let's see if there are any questions.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. All right. Well, if anyone has any questions, that was a great time to leave them down in the comments. Should we talk a little bit about Astronomy Day some more? I know we talked about it some last week, but like we are premiering some brand new shows that have never been seen before in the planetarium. So this is kind of the first chance to get to see them and to get to see them for free. So we've got Mars 1001 and Out There, which is about exoplanets. Two really great shows that I'm very excited to be premiering. And Mars 1001 is only going to be here for a couple months. We have it on a short-term license, so this one is very special in that it's not going to be around forever. With tardigrades for the event, you can come out and check out tardigrades. If you've seen our shows, you've probably heard us talk about them. They're loved and adored by the planetarium, and I'm very excited. So you can come see a real one. Let's see. We're gonna do a raffle for some free planetarium tickets or some planetarium swag, like a t-shirt or a hat. The Arrowhead Astronomical Society is going to be out helping us. We're also going to have Bob King doing a show, and we're starting off the evening with Erica Adams, who is a local children's author, who is going to be reading her book New Moon's Family, which is very exciting because, yeah, she was originally supposed to be at Astronomy Day 2 years ago. That got canceled because we were right at the start of all of this. And so I'm really happy that our first kind of somewhat back to normal Astronomy Day, we get to have her come out. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions coming through.
Me neither.
So I think we'll just wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We hope you're kind of looking forward to some of these astronomical events that we talked about. And of course, hopefully you'll come out and see us on Astronomy Day. Have a great rest of your evening. Be safe. I know we're supposed to be getting a little bit more snow up here. We're in for what, another couple inches tomorrow?
Yeah, I think like 3 over this like little storm we're having. But up, I was just looking up by like Grand Portage. They've got like 9 or something like that.
I mean, it's your spring winter storms, right?
Yeah. Doesn't it look kind of cool though? Like the sky, I don't know, the sky looks pretty. I don't know, I like gloomy weather, so.
I have been enjoying it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. I know everyone's been hating having snow in April, but I've been enjoying it.
I could do without the snow, but I just like I like the gloom.
That's fair. It was so pretty though. I still just love sitting on the couch watching the snowfall.
I don't remember if it was yesterday or this morning, but the snowflakes were like huge.
They were so big. Yeah.
Massive. Yeah.
Oh, I loved them.
That was cool. It's also cool to like see like it'll snow and then 20 minutes later you've got a huge fog wall coming up.
Oh yeah.
Super cool.
Oh yeah. But then we're getting that, and yet we're getting like the boats coming back in again.
Yeah, so you can hear them.
And no, it's spring in Duluth.
Yeah. I suppose you can hear the boats pretty loud, probably, can't you?
Oh yeah, I can. I'm right by. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. But
yeah, it's cool.
All right. Well, to anyone in this wintry mess, stay safe as you travel. Things are, cross my fingers, knock on wood, looking good for Saturday. But as I said, if you want to put out your high-powered fans and blow this mess away before the weekend, we would appreciate it. All right. We're gonna head out. Thank you again, everyone. Have a great evening. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.